Today we're going to be talking about probability and relative frequency questions. Now these are around 15 points on your average SAT, so a good concept to know. Our approach is going to be to identify probability and relative frequency problems. We're going to break down the question. We're going to build a formula to identify probability and relative frequency problems, and then we're going to solve a practice question together. So how do you identify these? Well, these questions will feature two-way frequency tables. Now, I know that sounds like a long name, but it's actually not that difficult to interpret, and I'll show you in 1 second. So these tables will show two categories for two variables, and they'll give you numbers for each and totals. So here's an example one I made. We have two different variables, so our categories are grades, so we have 8th grade and 9th grade, and then we also have the variable right-handed versus left-handed, so right-handed, left-handed, and we can see that we have values here. So like this value would be 8th graders who are right-handed. This value would be 9th graders who are right-handed. So these are really important things to know in the frequency table. And something they could ask you is saying, if we picked a randomly selected right-handed student, what's the probability they're in 8th grade? Well, if you picked a randomly selected one of just right-handed, we only have 51. And the chance that they're in 8th grade, if they are right-handed, is 45 out of 51. So we'll look at an example here, but that's how you look at those. So our formula for these is going to be to read our two-way table. We're going to determine what the question is asking. And then we're going to use the data from our two-way table to answer the question. So first, we're going to read our two-way table. We see that the two things that we are looking at are whether people inquired about financing or didn't inquire about financing, and whether they were interested in sedans or not interested in sedans. Okay, now let's determine what the question is asking. Well, it reads, employees at a car dealership recorded all customer interactions last Saturday, noting whether customers inquired about financing and whether they were interested in sedans. The results are summarized in the table. If a customer from last Saturday who was interested in sedans is selected at random, which of the following is closest to the probability that the customer also inquired about financing? Okay, so what's being asked here? Well, we're looking just at the customers who are interested in sedans, and of the customers who are interested in sedans, we want to see the probability that the customer also inquired about financing. So let's start with the interest in sedans. We see we're only interested in sedans here, so this 78 is our total population because we're just looking at interested in sedans. And then of those interested in sedans, we need to figure out how many also inquired about financing. And so I see 35 here. And so 35 of our 78 total were inquiring about financing. And so this is going to equal approximately 0.45 and going to give me answer choice D. So for this concept, Desmos probably won't be very useful because you have to read the table and make the inferences. But you can use Desmos as a normal calculator, and sometimes it might be useful, so keep it in the back of your mind. Good luck with this concept.